Hello, one and all, and welcome to the A2theK Wrestling Show. And of course, A2theKania is running wild, brother. And we are back with another WrestleMania themed segment. And this week, we are going to be looking at the 10 greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. Exciting on this one. And it was bloody hard work to do it as well, wasn't it, to be honest?
Such a tough decision to make.
Insane.
Really was. And none of them are bad matches by any means. But, like, I don't know, it's just crazy to look and go, that's like, there's 10 better than that. That's crazy. But there is.
It's insane. We're looking back over 37 years of WrestleManias. That's a hell of a lot of matches to think about.
A show that's older than us. Older than us.
Insane.
Yeah, it fucking is. I don't care about the grace. It's older than us.
Yeah. People won't believe it, but it's true. But yeah.
Oh, it's true.
It's damn true. But yeah, so as usual with these segments, we will go through from 10 to 1, talking through what we believe are the 10 greatest matches. And of course, as always, have we left something out, something monumental that you think, how have these guys not listed this? Let us know. Let us know in the comments. Let us know on social. We love a debate, and it's always important to remember this is our list, and what we say is right, and you're wrong.
Yeah.
So
we have the microphone, and you don't.
We're funny.
Sorry.
But yeah, so hopefully you enjoy. Follow along. Let us know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Because we love a good old debate. But kicking off with what we have got ranked as number 10 in the 10 greatest WrestleMania matches. I'm going to throw it over to Anthony to start us off.
Let me talk about this one. So, Carl, this is one of an epic set of matches for me, right? Because my number 10 is WrestleMania 28. And no, not the one you're thinking about. I think you're probably going to talk about that one. But I want to talk about my favourite wrestler, and yours, probably. I don't know. The Undertaker versus Triple H. And the reason I say this is one of a set, because this is the culmination of Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker, Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker, Triple H versus Undertaker, and now Triple H versus Undertaker. And that sounds like a lot, but when you consider the way the story built of, like, Shawn couldn't do it, so Triple H steps up, Triple H almost did it. And this one was sort of beautifully done, because this wasn't even this time around wasn't even Triple H going, I want a rematch, I want to try and beat you in the same way Shawn did. This was Undertaker. This was Undertaker saying, I want a rematch because I won the match, but I have to be stretched out, and that I want some redemption for that. Yeah. And they put on such a banger of a match last time. It was so hardcore, to use the term, and we've come off 2 epic matches with him and Shawn. We come off an epic match with him and Triple H. How can we up the ante? I can tell you how we up the ante, Carl. We have not only a match between Triple H and Undertaker, which is fantastic, we have the best, yes, fucking fight me on it, the best Hell in a Cell match there ever was.
Yeah.
Because we took this Hell in a Cell, we had a special guest referee in Shawn Michaels, for a bit anyway, and we had a fucking epic match between the two, and he still didn't beat the streak, did he? And, it's just... And this was a match where I thought he fucking might, to be honest with you. I thought this was the culmination of the previous 3 matches. This was how it was going to end. And let's be honest, we all thought Triple H would probably book himself to do that. But no, the streak remained, and we had a absolute banger of a match. And I think I was saying this to you before we started recording, Carl. It is crazy to me that this is number 10, like, in some senses, because it's a fucking awesome match. But it truly is 10, like, for our list. We've debated this heavily. We're quite resolute in this is the order, and this is number 10, but it really shouldn't be in you know what I mean?
Like, yeah, it was
fucking awesome. It feels so weird calling it a 10.
Like, so difficult to actually have picked these.
But I think that's my first entry, Carl. It has to be this one.
It was just so good, and I think as well with this match, you had the extra kind of stakes, obviously the Hell in a Cell aspect, but then with Shawn Michaels being the special guest ref, and I think everybody thought the streak was over at the point when Shawn super kicked Undertaker, and then Triple H pedigreed him, and we were like, oh my god, Undertaker's going to be screwed out of the streak. it was just so beautifully
Shawn
done.
Michaels screwing someone. That doesn't happen.
Oh,
Let's move on.
I'm still not over it. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, even even the end shot where three absolute legends stood on that stage, looking back down, going, this is, these are our careers, our collective careers here, just pretty much, almost done with, more or less. So.
As a little fun fact there as well, this was something that Triple H has cited as his favourite match. I don't know if that's still the case, but certainly something he's mentioned as his favourite match.
Well, they did have that Saudi match. I'm sure that's up there as his favourite.
I'm sure that's. How can it not be?
Oh, so bad. But anyway, that's a whole different list for a whole different day. But yeah,
it's a top 10 Saudi matches.
God, yeah.
So we have three.
Still, the greatest ever moment in the Saudi match was Titus World Slide, and you'll never change me, man.
Ironically, called the greatest Royal Rumble, and it just never fucking was.
It really.
Like, how do you make a Royal Rumble bad?
I have no idea, but they found a way. They did.
Found a way. Oh, I know. Have it mean fuck all. That's one way.
Didn't he win? Didn't he win like a weird title belt or something? I'm sure
they won. Did. Yeah, they won. Like, because I think Braun won it, and he won like this green title belt. I was like, there you go.
And we all know how good.
You're not allowed to wear it because it's not a title, right?
We all know how good green title belts are in the WWE.
No, they might as well give him a trophy because he's not allowed to wear it, like as being like, look at me, I'm the greatest Royal Rumbler or whatever. No, just has it on his shelf. Might as well be a fucking trophy. Anyway,
greatest Rumbler.
Let's not digress too far from the list.
Yeah, let us know. But we have a tendency to do that sometimes. But no, fantastic entry at number 10, and as you say, hard to believe that it's so low on the list almost. But there's a hell of a lot of fantastic Mania matches, and as Anthony said, we've debated this quite a bit, and yeah, we've got it down as number 10. So, which match is better than it? Which comes in at number 9? We believe has to be Hogan Andre. Now, some of you will be going, what? So some of you will hate this.
In a way, though, it kind of is. Like, there's so many factors to a match, isn't there? Let's be honest.
Yeah. Like,
sorry, it's your entry, but I'm like, no one's going to say it was the best on a technical wrestling sense.
God, no.
Here we are.
Exactly.
So apologies, go
on. Shut up. It's my time to shine. No, so yeah, we've got this at number 9, and the reason being almost is that this is probably the biggest WrestleMania match in terms of what it meant for WrestleMania, in terms of what it meant for the company, in terms of the attendance record. We had 93 something thousand people, broke all attendance records to see everybody's favorite mega hero Hulk Hogan try and topple a literal giant in Andre the Giant. And as Anthony said, we haven't ranked this because it was an absolute technical clinic. We'll come on to a few of those in this list, but this is solely up there just because of what it meant and how big it was. No pun intended, that you actually had just an absolute behemoth like Andre. And we spoke about this in the greatest moments that we did. So if you've not seen that, go back and we'll talk. We spoke a bit more in depth about that.
If you've not seen that, we'll wait.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was a really short video. You've watched it now. But no. So obviously, a lot of this was built around Hogan slamming Andre. And we had that as one of the biggest WrestleMania moments. But the way that this match was kind of done, it was a true threat to Hulk Hogan, where he was almost unstoppable at this point. He won everything. I can't even think of any time he lost, and if he did lose, it was due to some kind of weird kind of count out
shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Carl. Shenanigans everywhere.
All about the shenanimaniacs out there. But this was the first threat to Hulk Hogan almost of, okay, I don't think you can actually beat Andre. And just, even though it wasn't a technical masterpiece, it told a wonderful story in the sense of Hulk Hogan, tried several times to pick up Andre and he couldn't do it. And, the story they told all the way through the match.
Sorry, I just pictured him in a bar. Hey.
How you doing? Finally, his advances paid off, and boy, did he pick him up. Yeah. So, but yeah, so they told this story of Hogan really was the underdog this time round, and there was no denying that. And Andre was pretty much beating on him pretty bad, and then he just that moment of where he actually managed to topple the Giant, he managed to power slam him. And it had been done several times before in Japan and other places, but to pretty much everybody watching that show, they hadn't seen Andre be slammed before. Especially in that kind of manner where he just literally picked him up and tossed him, not like something super quick. So yeah, it was just phenomenal in the sense of what they achieved. It really cemented WrestleMania as like the big attraction. Then I think because
I think so. Yeah, like this is like the third WrestleMania, and I don't know enough about the other two, to be fair, but this is the first sort of notable one for someone who came into it so late on.
Yeah.
So I think you're right about that, to be honest.
Well, like you had WrestleMania 1, which was a massive success, and they had obviously Mr. T, Hogan, Piper, and
Orndorff. T. That's crazy.
So you had them in the main event of WrestleMania 1. WrestleMania 2 was a bit of a failure, to be fair, because they tried to go too big with it. 3 different venues.
I remember that. Well, I don't remember it. I remember learning about that.
Yeah, so that one was like a bit of so this was really the make or break for WrestleMania, because if this was a failure as well, it would have been hard to come back from. But
wow.
no,
I had to think of a world in which WrestleMania wasn't a thing.
I know, like we wouldn't even have this show, Anthony. But yeah, for them reasons and them reasons alone, this had to be on that list, and just for just looking at the two of them squaring up, it was it's a match that you had to see. Especially way back then before you'd seen everything you'd seen today, so deservedly belongs on this list. And there's several better matches that we will get onto, but yeah, it's a phenomenal match, and it stands the test of time. Even to this day, it got so many wrestlers into wrestling in the first place, so it means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
it's a real example of the spectacle of wrestling.
Yeah,
might not be the most technical,
beautifully put.
Yeah. Thank you.
Beautifully put.
Rehearsing that in my head. So I think this segues perfectly onto what we would call number 8, Carl, my next one. And I'm going back to WrestleMania 28. I have not left that pay-per-view yet. And why have I not left that pay-per-view, Carl? Because this is a similar thing where it's iconic, it's a spectacle, it's an icon versus an icon. And that is why it sort of has that similar parallel, because so many people, so many fans of the Attitude Era, love The Rock, arguably one of the biggest names of the Attitude Era, and then we get to see him go up against the biggest name of the reality/PG era in John Cena. This was the first time they went at it, which is a shame.
Once in a lifetime.
Once in a lifetime, except for the next year.
Yeah.
And I honestly leaves a little bit of a sour thingy, that the fact that they went at it. I shouldn't keep using that tense. The fact that they had a match again the following year. But I think the build, the fact that we were also sort of hyped to see The Rock back, and not just back for like a guest appearance. He was back, all right, like not like week in week out kind of deal, but he was back regularly. The one of the two of the best people on the microphone in WWE history. Undeniably so, for different reasons, but like just seeing these two just battle in terms of the promo sense and the hype to this match was fantastic. And then we get to the match itself, and again they're both. I know a lot of people give John Cena shit for his 5 moves of doom. I can't remember how many he's got now. But let's be honest, The Rock's kind of similar in that sense. The Rock doesn't get the same shit because he sells it. Like in a way, you know, like he's that charismatic, no one cares, but he's similar. You could argue that neither of them are the most technically gifted wrestlers in the world, but they're not shit either. Do you know what I mean? Like shit's probably a bit of a strong word, but it's not like we're talking about Hogan and Andre in terms of wrestling skill, but we're not talking like your Daniel Bryans and that sort of thing where it's like just a technical bout, or like your Kurt Angles where it's going to be impressive as fuck. They're both really good in the ring, but really charismatic as fuck as well. And it just led to a fantastic build and a fantastic match, and one that should have ended there, but I won't turn this into a bitter thing. This is number 8 because when are you going to get to see this? It's amazing.
Oh, exactly. It was a dream match, wasn't it? I don't think anybody thought we would ever see, John Cena and The Rock go at it.
Exactly.
Proper going to town. Um,
Just going to town on each other.
Yep, yep. But no, it was just I remember how it all kind of unfolded and stuff, and like the promo package and stuff that they had, and like the each had their own little theme songs almost. You had Machine Gun Kelly, and you had Flow Rider and stuff like that, and everything
I
about
think
it.
it's
It
pronounced
felt.
Florida.
Oh yeah, shit, yeah. But like everything about it felt grand, like a spectacle, and that's exactly what you want for WrestleMania. It was
Yeah.
Hollywood's biggest star and former, WWE's biggest star alongside Steve Austin against WWE's biggest star of that kind of
Yeah.
generation in
And let's
John
be
Cena.
honest, Rock was there to defend his Hollywood status because John Cena was trying to break into Hollywood, and he's like, "No, I'm gonna stop you at the gate, bitch." That bit's not true.
Yeah, he was really worried after Cena started Trainwreck that it was going to be the end
The
of
John
the.
Cena story.
But no, I just for them reasons alone, just for what a spectacle it was, and for how batshit crazy it was seeing The Rock and John Cena. It was like something out of that you'd make in one of the WWE video games, isn't
Yeah,
it? Of
it's like, hang on, we've got legends available on this game. Let's have like The Rock up against John Cena. That'd be awesome.
yeah, I wonder
It's
who would
kind of
win, and it's like, well, we got to see it.
yeah.
So
Um, I want to backtrack a little bit, not relating to the match, but I will give John Cena credit. He was probably one of the only funny things in Trainwreck. Just FYI.
take that, Amy Schumer.
I feel like I was unfair, trying to make a joke about his acting career when in actual fact he was the funny thing in it. Anyway, your turn.
Anywho, so coming in at number 7, we have Icon versus Icon. It was Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior. This match, it was just so insane. So it was WrestleMania 6, and Warrior was the Intercontinental title holder, and Hulk Hogan was the world title holder. And Warrior was super over. Hulk Hogan was super over, and it was one of the only times you've ever had two absolute megastars who were both baby faces that were both completely over with the fans, and they put them against each other with both titles on the line effectively. It was just insane because I don't think any audience has ever been as divided as probably they were. Like, you had some people who were like, "Oh, Hogan, he's past it. We don't care about him anymore. All about the Warrior." But then you still had your diehard Hulkamaniacs who didn't want to see him dethroned or anything like that. So it was just. It was crazy. It was almost like what a big fan I am of like mirror matches, and this is exactly what it was. It was the biggest star they had in Hulk Hogan, and the guy that they wanted to be their next star in Ultimate Warrior.
Okay. Ego versus ego, eh?
Well, yeah, pretty much. Behind the scenes, absolutely. But for what it was as well, like in terms of the psychology, they told like no one will ever say that Ultimate Warrior was a fantastic wrestler because he wasn't, right? And let's not beat around the bush. He wasn't. But
I love it. Just ended it there. Next then.
next one. But in this match, like they both complement each other really well because again, not a technical clinic, but it was telling the story of like, well, who was the strongest, who had the best moveset, who was like they were kind of just trying to one up each other and to really feel out who was the best. And I don't think anyone growing up during this time really gave much of a shit of how great they were in the ring. It was just, I can't believe we're getting to see Hulk Hogan face Ultimate Warrior. There's very few, matches that you will see where it was two guys just absolutely in their prime, as over as they were, as like adored by fans as they were, just going up against each other. So yeah, it was just a phenomenal spectacle of a match, and it was Hulk supposedly passing the torch to Warrior, but we know what happened with that.
Took a torch with him.
Burnt the whole fucking place down with it.
Warrior was quick on his feet, man. I don't know how he managed to outrun the guy.
But yeah, so deserving of being on there just for what a spectacle it was. And I love watching this match and just seeing how the audience reacts because they were so split down the middle. They didn't know who was going to win because they were both so heavily protected in terms of their booking and stuff like that. So yeah, absolute spectacle and one of the best of all time.
I mean, I don't think I need to say anything else. I think you summed it up fantastically. At the same time, I don't think it'd be right for me to say anything else because I wasn't. I was never very big on the Hulk. I think the Hulk, the Hulkster, Hulk Hogan. I was never very big on Hogan. I think I made that clear throughout the last year or so of our podcast that I was never very big on Hogan. And Warrior, I never got. Like he was sort of done and dusted by the time I was into wrestling anyway. But I never got it. I never got.
No one got him.
But
He just looked cool.
And then there was all them weird conspiracies where like one time they were like, "That's not the real Warrior," and I'm like, I don't know. Still overly excited, dude. Face paint on, but I just didn't get it. Like I didn't get the gimmick, and like you say, maybe a lot of people didn't, and that was sort of part of it. But like, it's hard for me to look at this match and enjoy it. But I totally get where you're coming from in terms of like the crowd reaction and how protected they were at the time. So, I don't think I can sum it up any better or add anything to it. So I just want to sort of make that mention that like I can't deny how good it was. Sadly it's just one that sort of passes me, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
But my next one, Carl, because fuck it, let me sound like a broken record. This one is about two men from two different eras of wrestling, icon versus icon. But this time, it's The Rock versus Hulk Hogan. And I've mentioned this. I think I might have mentioned this in our Greatest Mania moments. I've certainly mentioned this before. Now, as much as I'm not a fan of Hogan, this was fantastic. And you know what? My favorite Hogan is a bad guy Hogan. Like I enjoyed him more as the arrogant bad guy because, to be honest, it was more believable.
He was just playing himself then. It wasn't
even. So I enjoyed him more as the NWO Hogan, but I cannot deny, right? Hogan versus The Rock, WrestleMania 18, right? I cannot deny how epic this was. For a very similar reason to The Rock, John Cena, it's one of them mad bookings where you don't think it'll ever happen, right? But and I don't want to pin this just down to a moment because it was a surprisingly good match considering it was Hogan and obviously he's got less of a moveset than The Rock. It was just that respect that was shown, that build right back to Hogan becoming a face. I was there for it and I don't even like Hogan. It was just a fantastic match with a fantastic finish and something that you would never expect that you get to see. And we're at WrestleMania 18 and you get to see Hulk Hogan at a man who was there for WrestleMania 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
At WrestleMania 18 against The Rock. Like, it has to be on the list because the match itself is baffling enough. Like, how the fuck? And to be fair, they put on a fantastic show. You know, you can't deny how, again, relying on the charisma of The Rock for me, as far as I'm concerned. But even so, fantastic match. And I've got to give credit where credit's due. Hogan, he put in the work here. You know?
Yeah, definitely. I think he just he had the whole audience in the palm of his hands because obviously he was the NWO leader at this point. Came in as a bad guy, and then the story he told throughout the match was that he got all the fans back on board with him. He started doing old like babyface Hogan stuff. And got to a point where people were booing The Rock because they'd started cheering Hogan again. And it was just a fantastic turn. And we'll come on to it in maybe one or two of the other matches that we talk about. But it's so incredible when they execute a turn really, really well. And I can't think of many better examples than this, where
maybe
just the one. But the way that he was able to enter it as a heel, getting booed, and come out of it as like, oh my god, it's Hulk Hogan, the man that we idolized when we were really young, stuff like that, and he got all the audience back, and it was just a beautiful story that they told.
And I just want to say, I know a lot of people love the whole Real American, and that is like Hogan's theme as far as a lot of you are concerned. Even Carl over there, because he's watched it since he was a kid. But nah, coming back out in the red and yellow to Voodoo Child is just fucking banging.
Yeah, you're a big Hendrix fan. That's probably the reason.
Oh
why. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic moment, and crazy to think Hogan, who was there for WrestleMania 1, pulling off a hell of a turn at WrestleMania 18 and going back to the Hogan that everybody knew and loved from back in the day.
Damn right.
Which leads us on to number 5, which is
Icon versus Sorry, go on.
Will you shut up? So Number 5 is Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 26. So this is their second match. And so I don't want to give too much away, but the first match might also feature on this list. So this one, in our opinion, maybe wasn't as great as the first one, but it was still incredible. These two had such fantastic chemistry, and in this particular match, it added a whole different dimension to it, and there was a lot more kind of stakes on the line because it was streak versus career. Yummy, meaty steaks.
I actually think it kind of added something as well because of the frustration for Shawn. As much as I think the first one's better and it may feature on the list and I may talk about it, the fact that they played on the previous one as well, like you say, the stakes were much higher. But I don't know, I kind of like the fact that it wasn't just the same again. It's like, well, I didn't win, I'm going to try again. He was annoyed, he was frustrated that he got so close and yet so far. But in the end, it doesn't even matter. Sorry.
Oh my god. But yeah, so he's such a dick sometimes. But yeah, so obviously there was a lot more on the line with this one, and to Anthony's point, then it was all built around the fact that Shawn Michaels was Mr. WrestleMania, and how could he be Mr. WrestleMania if he couldn't avenge that loss, and he needed to beat the Undertaker, otherwise he wasn't gonna carry on, kind of thing, and ultimately ended up what should have been his retirement match. It would have been beautiful.
And I want to say for the record, I think in recent weeks he's actually mentioned that he regrets coming out of retirement.
Well, I don't fucking blame
he
him.
wanted to retire on this note and should have retired on this note, and he regrets making the decision not to. Which, yeah, he should regret that. Stupid Shawn.
Stupid bald Shawn.
Fly around the orton there. Stupid. Sorry.
But yeah, so we can't deny that their second Mania match was a fantastic match, and it does so thoroughly deserve to be on there, because even if this was like their only match, it would have been fantastic. So while maybe we don't believe it was better than the first one they had, just for some other reasons which we may talk about, this definitely deserves to be on there in its own right because of everything else that went into it. And these two just had such fantastic chemistry. The story that they told, and even just the way where he just slaps the shit out of Taker at the end and stuff like that, and just the whole finish to it. It told a fantastic story between two legends who have been in the business for so long, and what should have been Shawn's swan song, unfortunately didn't happen, but it just would have been the perfect way for him to go out.
Shawn did after that, it ends on a beautiful note.
It does indeed. But yeah, hell of a match, and these two were just fantastic together. So that is our number 5 of the list.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Shawn Michaels being Mr. WrestleMania, because he has that name for a reason. And that being said, my number 4 is WrestleMania 21, and it's Shawn Michaels against Kurt Angle.
Mm-hmm.
And my God, what a display of a match this is. This is something, and you may totally disagree with me on this, and it may just be something I've totally overlooked. We know Kurt is fantastic in the ring. We know he's got a lot of technical skill. He's got that proper wrestling background, Olympian. He definitely knows what he's doing in the ring. But Shawn Michaels is someone I'd never really considered in a technical sense. And I don't know whether that's right or wrong for me to have done that. Because he's the showstopper, he's got the charisma. He definitely wins the crowd over in a lot of ways, but I never really considered him in a technical sense. But you watch this 30 minutes worth of magic between these two, the chemistry they had together, and the technical show they put on. You cannot deny either of these being fantastic fucking wrestlers.
Oh God, no!
And that's why it's number 4. Damn it.
Well, I mean, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong because it's a while ago, but I believe this whole feud was built upon who was the greatest wrestler of all time. Like that's what they wanted to,
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them where you go, because you're totally right, and I think I always kind of looked at it from Shawn's point of view as an arrogance thing, but I suppose looking at it through I don't know, more grown up eyes than being a teenager watching these things, he is really good technically, and I never really gave him much sort of credit for that, and I feel almost bad for that now. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I would still say Kurt Angle's better. But in a technical sense, Shawn actually he is really good at what he does. And for whatever reason, I've never given credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, I could think of a reason why I don't give him the credit he deserves. Personally, it's probably another reason why. And some people may hate the fact that this match hasn't made the list, and it is probably just on the outside anyway. So I haven't done it just because I hate Shawn Michaels, but that's probably the reason why Brett and Shawn Iron Man isn't on here as well. But no, going back to this match and not digressing too much from it. I just sometimes in wrestling you can build a whole feud just based on who's better and trying to understand who is better, and that's
Yeah,
what
and
this
it's
whole
one of them
thing was
unique
built on.
things, isn't it, where it doesn't need a lot of story. That's
Yeah,
what you need. That's all you
like
need.
it's Kurt, so Kurt is fucking hilarious and fantastic, and he did do some excellent stuff in the run up to this. He brought back Marty Jannetty, he brought back Sensational Sherry, put them in the ankle lock. Loads of good stuff. He had that. I'm just a sexy Kurt. I'll make your ankle hurt. All that good stuff because
He's
Kurt
a fucking
Angle
legend, isn't
is the man. But no, when it boils down to it, this was just solely two guys who are two of the best to have ever done it. Actually, just going to war to see who was the better man. And on that night, it was Kurt Angle, and it deserved to be. And yeah, it was just so fucking good from start to finish. It was like half an hour or so where we got a decent amount of time for a match, and yeah, it was a fantastic match.
Indeed.
Which leads us on to number 3. And speaking of fantastic matches, so number 3 from WrestleMania 3, we've already spoken about Hogan and Andre, but the match that stole the show had to be Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat, and what a match this was. This was in an era where, if you look at the main event, it was built on giants. It was Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant. That's the spectacle that people came to see. Macho Man, Steamboat were probably pushing 6 foot at a push. So, they didn't get the credibility that they deserved. And this was obviously for the Intercontinental title, which is, I fucking love that belt. So straight away, that's another reason why this is fantastic. But what not a lot of people know about Randy Savage is he suffered quite a bit from OCD, like quite bad OCD. And he was working a program with George the Animal Steel around this time, and he basically was putting on matches that he hated, and he was really stressing himself out about it. But he always wanted to work with Ricky Steamboat. It was someone similar size to him. He felt that would complement their style, and we'd never really seen them before really wrestle. And what happened was they planned out this match, move for move for move, which was pretty unheard of back then. It was normally just you got to finish, you'd go out and just you'd do it in the ring. Savage was so over the top, careful. He wanted to put on a fantastic match that he got to like 100 different spots, for example, and they knew what order it was going to be, how they were going to execute it, and the result was a fucking phenomenal match. It is so crazy,
It does
the chemistry.
really give credit to planning stuff out like that. Because am I right in saying, didn't Triple H have a meticulously planned match like this with, I want to say maybe Austin or The Rock, where they planned out every aspect of it, and it was like beat for beat, they knew what was going to happen. And again, it was another fucking classic of a match. And you go, maybe there's I mean, I know it takes a lot of planning, so that's probably why it's not as commonplace. But when you see things like this, you go like, look at the results. How can you not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, for me watching it, like that whole thing around him having OCD and planning the whole thing out and then working on it for like a month or so before this was, wasn't common knowledge to me. Like when the first time I saw this match, or several times since, and I just saw it and just was blown away by the chemistry the two of them had. They felt so in sync, so it kind of made just so much sense to me finding out the reasons why, because everything was planned out, but. Like
so they were in sync, and there was no chemistry. It was a lie.
it's a lie, damn it. But like, if you go back and watch this back now, you just see that they are so they remembered everything that needed to be done in this match to the point where it's almost like a dance. Do you know what I mean? It's like a fucking ballet, because they were two dance partners in there who just fucking knew exactly what they needed to do. It was a well orchestrated, well oiled, incredible match. It was full of near falls. It was full of high flying stuff, technical stuff, and again, we've got Hogan Andre on here because of the spectacle it was, and the stuff that happened in that match. But this was the show stealer. It showed that the Intercontinental title and guys who weren't fucking big monsters could really get the fans behind them, and they kind of paved the way for the likes of a Shawn Michaels and a Bret Hart, and later down the line Eddie and Benoit and stuff like that. So these guys were the trailblazers behind that, because if this match didn't happen, maybe we would have only ever got these larger than life kind of athletes. But no, these two were just incredible. And if you haven't seen this match, go and check it out and just watch the chemistry between the two of them, because it's insane. It's amazing.
Indeed. Couldn't have put it better myself, Carl. And it's another similar one. It goes way beyond my history and knowledge of wrestling, so I couldn't really do it any justice. But two absolute. No, I'm not going to say it. I was going to say icons again. I'm not going to say icons. I'm going to stop saying icons. Right. I'll go to number two. Number two, Carl. As I'm sure a lot of you are expecting. Maybe you were expecting it at number one. But I think there's a good reason it's not number one, and we'll talk about that shortly. Number two is WrestleMania 25, and it's Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels the first time. Now, for me, was the better of the two matches in terms of match quality. And in terms of build. The whole good versus evil element to it was fantastic. To be honest, I even enjoyed things that I didn't think I'd enjoy. Like when you had elements of like the Undertaker trying to intimidate Shawn with the whole spectacle of the Undertaker and the dead man and appearing behind him and stuff like that, and Shawn was like, he knows the tricks, he's been around long enough, so he wasn't buying it, and just elements like that. And I'm like, that normally that would bug me, but I'm like, well, no, they kind of selling it in the right way, do you know what I mean? And it's like, I totally get why sold the Undertaker appearing behind him. He wasn't like, oh my god, because like, well, he's known the Undertaker that long, do you know what I mean? But I don't know, I know the stakes were not as high because there wasn't careers on the line here, but this was a fantastic match. And for me, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, if this had been how Undertaker lost the streak, I would have been perfectly fine with it. And I don't know if you agree with that, Carl, because you hate Shawn Michaels, but the quality of this match is such that I would have been happy if the streak ended here. That's how good this match was.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been happy, to be fair, but I can't deny, like, we've both joint put this on there as our the second best match ever in WrestleMania, because of the story it told, really. So as we've said, there wasn't as much on the line, if you will, but it was about this good versus evil, from the fact that Shawn like came down from the fucking heavens, Undertaker came
and
up
obviously
from,
he'd found religion at this point, so it was extra poignant for him.
Well, exactly, but it was just like, I don't know, the quality of match was just so fucking good. Like, Undertaker putting everything on the line, fucking diving out the ring, so many different near falls. I think this was one of the first times where, since the streak had been, talked about and made into this big thing where you felt, okay, maybe it is gonna go. Like, I wouldn't have been happy.
This is actually a good point, that's like, while I'm like, I'd be happy if that's where the streak ended, this is probably the first time that you legitimately thought it might. That is a really good point. I never considered that. But before that, you're like, they were good matches, but you don't actually think the streak's at risk, in all fairness.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, good point, well made there. Never really thought about that.
I mean, like some of them near falls, I honestly thought, oh my god, it's over. And it's ironic, really, because the way it did end up ending, I never, for some reason, just because of the build, I just never thought Brock was winning. So I was so shocked. But yeah, with something like this, you could completely see Shawn breaking that streak just because of the whole story and stuff behind it. But
it honestly makes the streak ending so surprising and so baffling when you consider the amount of story involved in this, and he didn't break the streak, and like the lack of story in Brock, and it's like, oh wow, okay, the streak's over. The hell?
Yeah.
It's so fucking weird.
No,
I still don't know how I feel about it. Not to digress onto that one, but I still don't know how I feel about that. But yeah. The story behind it alone is fantastic, but it was a fucking good match, and it's one of them. I hate to say Undertaker was slowing down at this point, but he was. Let's be honest. But this really proved that he could go in the ring. He really could. And all right, his pacing had been a bit different for a while there, but they put everything into this, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, well, everything in it. He fucking landed on his head because the cameraman didn't catch him when he did that fucking jump over the top rope in this one.
Oh yeah.
That was not a pleasant watch, but
He's
no,
been through a lot in wrestling. We might need to do segments on what Undertaker's been through. The man's been set on fire. Ironically, Kane's gimmick, but the man's been set on fire. He's suffered numerous head injuries, hip injury because it wasn't his hip the big issue he had anyway for a while.
yeah.
He's been through a ton of shit, man.
Yes, I mean something people often overlook is he broke his foot in the Hell in a Cell match with Mick Foley or Mankind.
But as we learned from our wonderful interview with Stanley, that's obviously he'd suffered his orbital bone, and people, because he was wearing a mask, saw it as a free rein to hit him in the mask, which probably wasn't a good idea, given that he had just broken orbital bone.
Not
there
ideal.
You go.
But no, like these two left it all in the ring and on this one, and we were lucky to get a follow up match, but yeah, it didn't live up to the first one. Just the whole spectacle around it, the story.
And it would have been so hard to live up to the first one, and it still made the list, so it was still a fucking good match. But it was so hard to live up to this.
Yeah,
how could it?
This was pretty much perfect. You know what I mean? That you couldn't have done much more.
No.
But they could have if they wanted to get to number one. And
this is only right that this is yours, Carl. This is yours. It's
anyone who knows me knows what a mark I am for this guy. So, be no surprises. But, honourable mention to several of the matches that we wanted on here. Me and Anthony were like, God, I can't believe we haven't got Rock and Austin on here. I've already mentioned we haven't got Brett and Sean on here.
Nathan Jones's debut on here. I mean,
I didn't even think of it. Maybe we need to do a recount. Fuck, do you remember that? My God,
I know
that was awful.
When we do our worst list, that'll be on there. Don't worry.
Oh, God, needs to be. But no, anyone who knows me, this will not come as a surprise. But the greatest WrestleMania match of all time, not even a world title match, is Austin versus Brett from WrestleMania 13. It just had everything. It was beautiful. It's
so iconic. Everyone remembers the bloodied face of Austin.
Oh my God. It was just incredible. Nothing has ever been done like this before in wrestling.
It was done so well that I don't even know if it was deliberate.
Maybe not.
The finish was, but I don't know if the actual the double turn that you're going to mention, I don't even know if that was intended. It fucking happened. But,
yeah.
Sorry, go on. I'll let you do it.
Shut up.
I
know. But yeah, so obviously anyone who doesn't know going into this match, it was Stone Cold was the bad guy, Bret Hart was the good guy, but they were both getting pretty favourable reactions at this point. So what they decided to do was execute something so masterful in a double heel turn. The match itself, it made Steve Austin, and if you speak to Stone Cold, he will tell you if it wasn't for this match, he would not have gone on to have the success that he would have had. He wouldn't have been Stone Cold. The fans wouldn't have got behind him fully the way that they did. Maybe WWF wouldn't have even beat WCW in the fucking this. How monumental this match was for Steve and was for
crazy
the business.
Domino effect, if you think about it. Like, if this hadn't happened, how would it have gone? How would the landscape of wrestling been?
Exactly.
That's how big this was.
People often think, and I said this when we did our greatest moments because obviously this was on there. People often think that Stone Cold became super over 100%. Everyone loved him, became the number one in the whole company after the 316 promo, and it just wasn't true.
Yeah.
That promo was great.
It was a badass promo. Yeah.
It was awesome. People had 316 shirts and stuff like that. That was cool. But he went almost a year just still, drifting at this point. And, he was nowhere near the main title picture. And that's why, Brett wanted to work with him. Because Brett could have been around the main title picture, as he should have been around this time. But he wanted to work with Steve. And what he did in the way that he did this is they created such a badass in Stone Cold to the point that no one ever breaks a sharpshooter, and you're gonna tap out as soon as you get put in it. But for Stone Cold to be pretty much the first guy who doesn't tap to it and just his body gives up on him, and he's that much of a don. He is the man. He's such a badass that he won't tap out. like straight away the fans were just like, holy shit. And like, you know, the visual that we mentioned where he's just bleeding, he's putting everything into it. You know, Brett ends up picking up the win because Shamrock, who was special guest referee, goes, okay, he's passed out, so you win. And then that's when they execute the double turn, where, you know, he'd earned their respect, but then all of a sudden you have Brett taking like fucking chair shots to Steve after the match, and then not only has he earned their respect, he's earned their sympathy, he's earned their love, their adoration, and before you know it, Stone Cold Steve Austin is a fucking huge babyface, and, you know, there's no surprise this then catapults him to superstardom, where he then goes on to win the WWE title at the following year's WrestleMania for, you know, wins his first WWE title. So it's just so fucking good. It's a technical clinic. It's like two styles that you probably don't even think initially would mesh really well. You know, Austin's a brawler, Brett's very much a technical shooter style wrestler, but they were just so good together. They you know, incredible chemistry, the pair of them, incredible story, incredible moments, and I think it changed the landscape of the WWE at the time. So that's enough fanboying over Bret Hart, but like,
but in all fairness,
so good.
It is what made it. This was the start of it becoming an edgier product. You know.
Oh yeah.
This was such an iconic match, and as I say, that imagery of Austin is forever ingrained in everyone's mind. I think they still use it on the beginning, then, now, forever sequences, and it was the start of it becoming a bit more edgy and being a real competitor to WCW, which sounds weird to say now because, like, WCW died, but like that, there was a point when you might not have gone that way. It might not have gone that way, but yeah, it was just such an incredible match, and yeah, there's not much more I can add to it, to be honest, Carl. It's so iconic, such a great match, and I can't like break glass or drop a cup or anything now without just having that little touch of nostalgia, because I love Austin.
Well, exactly. But no, it was such beautiful storytelling, such an excellent, well-crafted match, and, you know, you had the main guy in Brett and the future main guy in Stone Cold, where, you know, if it wasn't for this, he wouldn't have even been the future main guy, I don't think. So yeah, it's just so well done. The pair of them, fantastic, and it's a match that will always stand the test of time, I think, just for everything that it managed to achieve. So
and
if you haven't seen it,
it's ingrained now. We've said it. This is the best WrestleMania match there ever was.
That's it, verbatim. As you know, as we said at the start of the show, you might have your own opinions, but they don't matter because we're always right. So that was the 10 greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, Anthony. So, you know, if you agree with us, then, you know, you're cool. You're in the club. If you disagree with us, then we don't want to hear about it. No, we do. Let us know. Let us know. Comment on the YouTube video. Put something on Instagram. Put something on Twitter. Call us out. Tell us, you know, say, Carl, you're a big baby. You know that Brett and Sean should have been on there. You can say that if you want. You know, there might be something that we've just left off completely. Maybe the first Money in the Bank. Maybe TLC. You know, there's all these fantastic matches that have happened, and maybe you think, you know what, these guys, they're missing a trick. So let us know. We would love to hear your thoughts.
We definitely would.
And we will be back for some more wrestling talk. Damn it, I can't say that anymore.
No, we can't say wrestle talk anymore. We're gonna get sued.
Yeah, stop suing us. We'll be back to talk wrestling.
More wrestling show.
We'll be back with more wrestling show after this noise.
You're watching or listening
to A to the K.
The A to the K.
A2theK.
A to the K.
A to the K.
A to the K.
These guys are awesome. Check it out.
Check it out. Change your life. You'll be thanking me later.